Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you. Sometimes life makes you blind and you choose something bad. You just wanna cry and hide and save your face from the crowd. But sometimes life makes you see the beauty in you and me. When you look up above, there is God and there is love. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new. We're here to help you see the newness of life. We're here to help you feel your hope is so real. You got the power to see. We'll help you see the new you. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the new channel. Here to help you see the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, your host for this wonderful live stream program, the HR Hotline. Yes, it's a wonderful day. I woke up early, had already 2 meetings this morning, and I had fun with my pets and my plants. We are going to discuss something that is a little bit a concern for leaders and for HR. One is because of the pandemic, we now realize fully, appreciate fully VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I even added, and this is original, a D. VUCA, the D. I know somebody's also teaching it already. At least he should mention that he got it from me. I know it. And I have not read, and this is original. The D is actually driven. I know it's original because I got it when ECOP sent me to Shamrek. And you know the antidotes for VUCA. For volatility, it's vision. For uncertainty, it's understanding, and we have to talk about it. For complexity, it's clarity, and for ambiguity, it's agility. And what is the antidote for driven? Digitalization. Okay, I should have it patented. Anyway, I also have one, the novel producer. I will discuss it one of these days. Anyway, anyway. So, what is the positivity of the pandemic? We discussed it last time, and I thank Cecil of Fel who shared it with their thoughts a lot. We stopped, able to discern, and able to realize that there are many things that we have to consider. That all of us are really catching up with the real normal. So, what are the uncertainties that we are actually confronted now? Most especially if you're in the organization, and more importantly, if you are an HR person. Then, from the uncertainties that we have to identify, we need also to be aware of how we are going to handle these risks. Maybe we can take two episodes on this because we cannot really finish this in an hour. Okay, so let me see our friends. I invited some friends of ours. We have here Maricor Militante. Welcome back, Maricor. We need your thoughts on this. Then June Sally from Jensen. We also need your thoughts on this. And Skabukit, you're watching. And yes, okay. So those are all the two things because I also have to leave at exactly 12:55. I have a webinar, and would you believe it? My topic is actually uh, implementing occupational safety and health and mitigating the COVID-19, the pandemic. Okay, so how does HR identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities in the organization? And the other one, after the break, we'll discuss how will HR handle organization risks. If we cannot finish it today, we're going to discuss it um, next week. So maybe I'll start. There are a lot of uncertainties that HR and leaders must be able to identify, which is why we have been suggesting, advising that there should be business continuity. Just imagine I have a student who was asking me, "Sir, when can we do the what you're calling the business continuity or similarly to strategic planning?" I told her these are not what do you call this? These are what do you call the challenging times, and these are not ordinary times. And I think we need it right now. Right now, you don't have to wait for December or January to do your business continuity, because you may not know it before you hold it, you are wiped out or gone. So yun. So we have to look into the uncertainty. The pandemic actually confronted us or confronts us with a lot of uncertainties, individually or as an organization. Then the only thing that we have to do is identify it. Now we have to realize the SWOT that we are doing, the ZOR that we are doing, but we are going to be more than that. More than that. And the vulnerabilities. A lot. I think we can start with the people that we let in, invited, recruited. Now we can see how vulnerable they are. We discussed last time why our valued, I like the pronunciation, I get it from my lolo, valued, valued uh, employees leave. Who is vulnerable? In what slant are we going to look at the vulnerability? It is just like, say, an analogy is a marriage. Now you fell in love with somebody. Then after how many years they fall out of love and they have other relationship. So who's vulnerable? The other person, your significant other, or the other person, the third party, or you. So that is actually vulnerability. So in all components of talent management, we have to do vulnerability analysis, much more in training and in succession planning. We are going to share this for those HR. You have to look at this and listen to this. Sometimes you have lots of problem because we miss that. And the other one, the other question is how you're going to handle it. Okay, later on I will start on how we're going to. That is actually crisis management. So can we have your inputs? There are already many here. Can we have your inputs from our friends? The question is, how can HR identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities in the organization? I need your insights on this because this is something that we have to discuss now. Little things, but great impact. And sometimes, mea culpa, we don't do this. We don't we don't do any vulnerability analysis or identification on talent management activities that we do. Then after that, I will realize, ay, oo nga pala, sayang. So I need your thoughts. There are already many in the room. I need your thoughts. How, let's just identify things that are uncertain, and then things that, what do you call this? Situations wherein we need to do vulnerability analysis. Maricor, can you help me here? June Sally, I can see you. Uh, can somebody help me here? One is actually, say, on recruitment, on sourcing. Vulnerable actually is the source. Say it will be a key position. Somebody will be handling money. You have to look into the source. Oh, thank you. Jerry has already, can we spot on Jerry Plana? Thank you, Jerry. Uh, which is more costly, bad leadership or leadership development? Okay. A question, the answer is another question. I love you, Jerry. Which is more costly? A bad leadership or a leadership development? Right. Leaders that don't actually identify what are the things that they should know, that is bad leadership. And then the other one, Jerry is telling me, you have to train your leaders so that they always be aware, they will know that What are the things that they have to look at to? Okay. So thank you, Jerry. I think it is more expensive, if I answer it, Jerry, to have bad leaders. That they just forgo, they don't really realize that that is the role to look into what are uncertain. That is why they're paid. That is why their salary is higher, so that they can. Jerry, tell me, am I correct? I call it that a sense, a sense of responsibility, a sense of accountability. That is actually what is that is the value wherein we pay leaders more. Leaders must have that sense. The question of Jerry, which is more costly, bad leadership and leadership development. Just imagine that is the answer of Jerry into that question of identifying uncertainties. Ang galing ni talaga ni idol ko. Ang sagot doon sa uncertainty, bad leadership or leadership development. Yung lahat ng mga HR makinig po sa conversation namin ni Jerry. Ito mga gusto kong conversation. I love you, Jerry. Ang tanong, identify. Ang sagot, question din. Malay mo nga, Jerry. Pipi Jerry, ang na-identify natin, yung nagkikinig mismo ritong HR. Siya mismo yung na-identify natin. Yeah. So one is, yes, kasi very vulnerable po. So uncertainty, didiretso ka dun sa vulnerability kasi it's uncertain. Things that you see that it's uncertain. You are not sure of. But it is already there. Diba? Nandiyan na. But you are still uncertain. Kaya ng asawa mo ngayon, you are not certain ba? Any moment, baka ma-fall in the that's a joke. But, yun na nga, uncertain. Then, you go into the vulnerability. Ang vulnerability, chineko kanina, both ways siya, sa'yo at dun sa other party. And it's a very deep analysis. Jerry, when I invite you, let us discuss that. Let us discuss that, yeah? Kasi malalim yun, nakita ko lang. Si Cecil Munoz may sinabi. Can we spot on Cecil? Sorry, friends, kasi I'm asking you to think. Direct. As HR, we need to keep our ears on the ground. Uy, ang hirap yun ears on the ground. That is emphatic listening. But our day-to-day honest dealings with our employees will give us the pulse. I love you. Spot on. In previous company, we do regular sensing to see what's going on apart from the periodic employees service. Oy, this quote ni Cecil Munoz, libro na po ito. I will repeat. As an HR, we need to keep our ears on the ground. And I think emphatic listening is listen with your ears, understand with your head, and answer with your heart. But hindi lang yan. On the ground. Our day-to-day honest dealings with our employees, and this is interactive management, will give us the pulse. Conversations. In previous company, we do regular sensing. Ang mahirap ngayon because we are on a distance. We are on a virtual to see what's going on apart from periodic employee service. Yeah, you know, I am a little bit updated now with kasi I'm a part of a screen committee. Then I think it is one of those that we are missing. That one of if you ask HR how they get the morale, the situation, they will always tell you we have periodic employee surveys. But are they really true, sincere manifestation of how they feel? Just imagine if your template is still pre-COVID and you just send it and then they just answer it without thinking that the situation has already changed. So there should be what you call sensing. Because we do not know. We have to identify what are really the areas wherein it is vulnerable, and the worst thing is something happened and we are the last to know. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Cecil. We are crazy about business continuity plans. Sabi ni, can we spot on Jerry? We are crazy about business continuity plans without talking much about leadership continuity. Spot on si Jerry. Very few organizations invest in ensuring leadership continuity. Right. Again, I will. My question is identifying. How can the HR identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities? But the answer of Jerry, malalim po. Malalim. Huh? We are crazy about the continuity but hindi natin nakikita yung leadership continuity kasi these are the leaders are supposed to be the one who should identify the uncertainties. Yes, people issues cost the business. Resisting change is costly, but being an employer of choice costly. Employment doing work only out of compliance is costly. I will repeat. People issues cost the business. Resisting change is costly. Not being an employer of choice is costly. Employees doing work only out of compliance is costly. Right. Right, Jerry. And then, welcome po. Dean Gloria Vacancy is actually the president of the Association of HR for the Hotel and Restaurant Schools. She is a seasoned HR. She's a dear friend of mine. Okay. And good afternoon, Dean Gloria. We have your Jerry and we have your Cecil. Jerry and Cecil, please meet Dean Gloria. Uh, your topic is great. Bad leaders are nothing at all. We might as well don't have any leader in an organization. Leadership development is expecting. As a good leader, we are influencing the development of more leaders. You will become a model worth emulating. HR should take the lead of developing leadership. Right, right. That is actually a follow follow comment after Jerry. You are spot on, Dean Gloria, because that is actually the answer to that question. Identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities. Actually, this question came from my chat group, my students. They are trying to prepare their what do you call this revalida in their certification in PEMAT, and then somebody asked me about this. So I might as well ask our season uh, guests on what are the things that should be identified. And Jerry, nice. I think it's leadership. Very vulnerable. Hindi lang uncertain. Uncertain yung leaders, it's more of the vulnerability. Very vulnerable. Most especially if you don't train them. This time of the pandemic, we can feel it. Kasi lumalabas yung totoo. Yun ang sinasabi ni Dean Gloria eh. If you don't notice it, a lot of situations are happening now because we are actually on this, hindi face-to-face eh. Kung face-to-face, pwede mong maging touchy ka, maging kurot, and then they can feel and see your how you project your gestures. But now that you're in the distance, sometimes kaya I am so cautious to do conversations on text. Diba? Kasi nakikita yung leadership, yung vulnerability ng leadership. So yun, isang sagot na yun ha. Ang isang na-identify natin, leadership. What else? We have here, yes, good afternoon, Sir Jesse, and to your listeners. Yes. Di Gloria, we are a group of Season 8 are here that I invited and we share our thoughts through the chat box. So please weekly, please be with us. So we have a record. HR must strategically embed, nurture the spiritual well-being. I love you. Talaga, Maricor. Kailangan yan. Of the leaders and of the people. Teams focus on nurturing the soul, purpose, mission, be God-centric, and all will be in place. Sustainability, continuity in the business, mission, and legacy. Yes. So sa pag na-identify, aside from leadership, although still in leadership, is yung spiritual well-being. Yeah. Yung spiritual well-being, maraming manganganak yan eh. It can even lead into your mental health issues. So of leaders and of the culture of the organization. Teams focus on nurturing the soul. So isa yun eh. Kasi doon, di ba sinabi, hindi yun uncertainty, vulnerability. Correct me if I am right sa nakuha, what I gathered from you, Maricor. What I gathered from you, Maricor. Now, HR must be able to identify, di ba, yung areas wherein there are what you call gaps or weaknesses on the spiritual well-being. So one is leadership, the other one is spirituality. You have to identify it. Mali mo talaga wala. You know what I've noticed, Maricor, a lot of my friends, nakakapag-Netflix, nakakapag-Zoom, pero hindi nakaka-online mass. Nagtanong ako eh. Sabi ko, di ba sunod-sunod na mga Blessed Trinity, then that one of the Holy Spirit, and I asked them, did you, you were able to attend mass? Sabi niya, Jess, di ba pa tayo magano? Sabi ko, sa online. Sabi ko, nagpadala ako, na-miss ko. Just imagine, So that is religiosity, There's a difference between religiosity and spirituality. Pero, one, if you're Catholic and you need to attend services, in question yun. At ang tanong din dun sa tinatawag natin na well-being sa spirituality, ang bait-bait magpa-picture na nagbibigay ng ayuda. Pero hindi naman makakapagbigay sa mga kaibigan at mga kamag-anak. So, yun, Maricor. Nag-chismis na to. So we have to, leaders and HR must be able to identify. Ang tanong dyan, Maricor, how? How will you, yung sinasabi ni Cecil, sensing, diba? How will you get a feel that people are a little bit remiss on their spiritual well-being? So that is one thing that can be identified. More. Can we still have more? Dean Gloria, you gave me some of your thoughts earlier. Can you share it with us? Dean Gloria. Agree, God always relegated to the side. That's why we are in this mess. Oo, talaga Maricor. Oo, Maricor. Oo. Yung para bang, yan ang isang ma-identify dapat. Kasi sometimes, ang sagot dyan, nagkakaroon ng mga mental health issues, nagkakaroon ng mga ang nakulang doon is actually yung spiritual well-being, at nakulang doon yung nakalimutan. So siguro ang nakikita ko they have to go back into their mentoring, into their coaching, or dapat it is not enough that every morning you send me prayers and good morning, may God take care of you. It's not that. Di ba, Maricor? Hindi ganun eh. And then the spiritual being, yung ginagawa ko dun sa isang friend ko, is to actually give hope to my friend na matulog siya sa gabi at huwag siya mag-isip na walang pera siya. So yung sagot dun sa walang pera siya is to be spiritual. Okay. Agree. Yan, can we spot on Maricor again? Introduce programs that nurture spiritual well-being. Right. Ngayon dapat Maricor, dapat meron. Would you believe later on, mayroon akong webinar, it's an OS. Ang last module ko is actually insights from the pandemic. And you know what will be my last, is actually to accept it. But you know, yung acceptance, hindi rin maganda na yung napakabait mo na, napakabait mo na rin. As a Christian, you still have to be a normal being, but of course, you have to take mo yung pagiging, understanding of what's happening in the world. Understanding why the Lord is doing this to us. Yun, napalayo ang ating kwentuhan, si Maricor kasi. Pero yun, so So what that is, one thing to identify, no, uncertainties and vulnerabilities. Thank you, Jerry, for giving introducing to us leadership, and the other one is virtual being. So we still have uh, 3 minutes. Can you tell me more? What other things that we have to identify? How can HR identify, or what does HR identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities in the organization? We have here Cecil Munoz. Can we? Ay, si Chong, magandang tangali po. No excuses, late again. Ay, of course, you are in Davao. Na ano ka? Na, ay, Mr. Navarro, si Jerry, alam ko, taga Davao din yan. Baka magkamag-anak kayo. Jerry Plana is also from Davao. Cecil, since HR is a critical advisor to organization leaders, vulnerabilities of the organization in the area of human resource may be identified through HR measures and analytics as vital information. Yes. Dapat maggawa, alam mo yung sinasabi mo, Cecil, ngayon na ngayon, araw na ito gawin nila. Analytics can be determined using its phase in the employee experience cycle. I love you, Cecil. Alam mo, Cecil, dapat makuha kang gaya sa akin. Mag-collaborate ka tayo, makuha tayong mga consultants. Trabaho tayo kay Jerry. I like your last paragraph. Analytics can be determined by its phase. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, Cecil. In your outsourcing, may vulnerability dyan. In your training, learning and development, may vulnerability dyan. May uncertain dyan. In your salary, ay, just mio. In my life, Cecil, kilala mo, nabigyan mo na ng increase, hindi pa natuwa. So, saan dyan vulnerable yung ginawa mo? So, dapat nag-analyze ka muna na itong binigay ko, matutuwa. There was a time in my previous organization, alam naman ninyo, we shared, management shared what you call that, ano ang tawag nun, Jerry, yung binibigay na dividend after. I shared. Yung birthday ni Ma'am Sandy, nag-share. Profit share. Alam mo, yung nagbigay kami, hindi man natuwa yung siguro mga 30%. Diba? Dapat nag-vulnerability analysis ako bago magbigay kami noon. Diba? Kasi, ang sanakaya ng loob ko, na ako yung nagbibigay ng pera, tapos hindi naman natuwa. Or, one time, alam mo naman sa amin, may oras nagbibigay ng mga regalo. O itong mga ayuda, pagbigay mo sa isang empleyado, sabihin, ano ba ito? DSWD. Hindi man lang natuwa. So, you have to look into that. Can you spot on Jerry here? Uncertain times require inspiring leaders, not transactional leaders. Leaders must lead on higher ground. This means we have to abandon many traditional management mindset and practice like doing right the first time. Might not be good advice if you're encouraging people to try new ideas. Guys, yan ang sagot talaga doon. Yan talaga ang sagot. Kasi we are in the challenge. This is not ordinary times. So, dapat yung leaders mo should not be transactional, but inspiring. So, yan ang una po. Ang unang, hindi ka certain, hindi vulnerable ang organization if you are not sure if your leaders are actually inspiring. Nasa 5th level of leadership. Then we have here Dean Gloria. The role of HR is so important. Congratulations for coming up with this program. Yes, thank you. The skills of HR being observant and alert, understanding of the movement of people in the organization, the mood and the performance of staff, plus the strong human relations could easily detect possible uncertainties and vulnerability of the organization. Spot on, Dean Gloria. Therefore, it is necessary that the HR should go down to the workplace and be observant. Apply the skill of being a person for all. Doing this would give yes. Right. Actually, yan po ang conclusion nitong question natin, Dean Gloria. Sometimes yan ang nami-miss ng HR. Yun ang sinasabi ni Jerry na very transactional leaders. Nami-miss yun eh. And that is actually something that is vulnerable in what we do or in the culture of leadership. We have here from that is Ding Gloria. Yes, yes. So Jocelyn Pick. Oh, hello, Jocelyn. Nandiyan si Ding Gloria. Hello. Ang ganda ng pinag-uusapan namin, Jocelyn. Ha? It's about how can HR identify uncertainties and vulnerabilities in the organization. We'll do this again kasi hindi natin napiga. Pag next episode, i-discuss po ulit natin ito. Then siguro we'll be ready. Kasi dapat Cecil, Sir Jerry, and Dean Gloria, dapat ma-identify natin doon sa process ng talent management. Let us share this. I think, let us, it's something basic, foundational, but sometimes we are not aware of it. Jerry, let us share this, that HR people and leaders must be able to identify, kahit na spoon feed natin, what are these vulnerabilities. Kasi sa mga estudyante ko, hindi nila alam eh. Yung parang nigger, sagot na lang ng sagot eh. Sagot lang ng sagot. Kung anong kailangan, sasagutin. Kailangan sasagutin. Hindi nila alam na it can be vulnerable. Okay? Gaya ng isang sample mapalayo tayo before the break. Yung tinutulungan ko na naman, na kaibigan ko, gusto siya mag-deliver, naggumawa siya ng ad hanggang paangkat. Sabi ko, right, you're looking for income, but you have to balance it with your health. Kung ikaw ay magpapaangkas, baka ma-infect. So, this is a little bit detailed na, pero dapat, kahit na dun sa mentoring, sa coaching, alam natin yung sense of vulnerabilities. Now, if you do this, there can be, you have to balance. Yan ang oras na namimiss. Ay, malalim pa po ang vulnerability analysis. And which should be done in every aspect of HR. From the strategic planning or what we call workforce planning down to what do you call this? Yung exit. So I just thought of it, and this is one good idea to share. So let's have a break, and then we come back. How will HR handle organization risks? And then we call it a day. Don't leave. I would like to get your insights on how we can handle risk after identifying the vulnerabilities. Okay? Direct, and we have the break list. Ang dami natin sa room, Thank you, Direct. And we have the poster where we are supposed to I'm inviting everybody to watch the new channel, TNC shows. We are from Monday to Sunday. And what is wonderful, you can use your gadgets while watching our informative and entertaining shows. Thank you very much. So let's go back with our guest. I noticed that Jocelyn is here. And of course, congratulations, Mr. Ray Tadeo of ECOP. I watched your UST video. Wow, idol na idol kayo nung, alam mo, si Mr. Rebustillo lang makakapagsabing to. I watched it from the start up to the end. And you know what is wonderful? You are, you are presenting in the second language. Grammar, inflection, pronunciation, enunciation, perfect. UST talaga. Oy, graduate ako ng UST Legazpi. And, you know, makikinig si Din Gloria. Wow! Wonderful rate today yung presentation skills. Ako nga may culpa. Because of my being, my personality, my archetype, sometimes a little bit so comfortable. But you know, this is a live show. But you can see a different Jesse when it is actually a formal presentation. But you know, Ray, you're handling the video, your presentation, and communication. It was wonderful. I urge you try to look for Ray Tadeo and watch his UST video on communication. Ray, by the way, I'm going to. I will not be around on Thursday because I'm doing with Ray an in-house on what you call communicating to get through the business writing module. Actually, I am doing business writing, not the usual business writing program, because he's already gone. I am actually using Mr. Isagani Yambot's outline in business writing. Kaiba po. Ang daming activities. We start with one word, we end up with reports and emails. Yon. Anyway, so let's go back. So the question now is, how will HR handle organizational risks? But if you still have some insights on identifying uncertainties and vulnerabilities, please do so. Nandito si Jocelyn, nandito, marami tayo sa room. Thank you for joining us. So, I will start and try to give your input. Ano na lang po tayo, 10 minutes kasi I have a webinar mamaya. So, I'll start. How will we handle risk management? So, na-identify mo na what is uncertain and what are all vulnerable. So, that is a risk. Paano mo ma-handle yung risk? So, na-identify mo na, doon muna tayo sa sourcing. The one that you recently placed, accepted, approved, diba? Placed, na-select and na-place. And you have the right competency-based recruitment. Mayroon ka pang rubrics, yung sinasabing rubrics of your competencies. Pero after 3 months, nakikita mong fake pala. Maganda lang mag-English, pero walang laman. So, na-identify mo na. So, una, vulnerable yung iyong selection system. Tapos ngayon, nandiyan na yung produkto, may vulnerability na. Hindi na vulnerability, risk na. Di ba? So, are you still going to let him be passing for probationary after, say, before 6 months? Or ano ang mga gagawin mo? More especially if it is on the competencies, hindi lang knowledge, skills medyo questionable, at attitude medyo questionable. So yun ang pag-umpisahan ko. So How will you handle those risks? Di ba? Ay, would you believe na ngayong pandemic, nakikita ko sa chat group ng PMAP, ang daming mga tao natin ha, kumukupit. Kumukupit ha. Okay. Can we spot on Dean Gloria? Dean, thank you very much. Dean Gloria vacancy. Can you spot on? There are so much risk as it is inevitable in any organization. True. HR should be prepared at all times. Every time we do planning, we usually include our strategic plan and even prepared for risk management or what ifs and how about and complete it with our crisis management plan. All this will just be on paper if our HR works ahead. It is said that among our resources, it is the human resources that are difficult to deal with, but good and skillful HR can easily do it. Right? Babalik tayo yung sinabi ni Jerry kanina. Din Gloria. Yung, which is more costly. Leadership development or a bad leadership. Kasama din yung HR. HR development or bad HR. Ang sinabi ni inevitable in organization. HR should be prepared at all times. Ang mahirap po nito, Dean Gloria, kung bulag, bingi yung HR. Yun yung sinasabi ni Cecil kanina. Sensing. Yeah, of course, we do plans. Ay, naku, ang gaganda ng mga plans. Ang gaganda. Yan yung sinasabi ni Jerry in the previous episode. That the programs are nice, but the practices are questionable. So there is no alignment between programs and practices. O yan, Jerry, I learned from you. And even prepared for risk management. I think, Din Gloria, one is, while you're doing it, vulnerability muna. Then after that, kung meron ka nang nangyayari na risk management, the one that I mentioned, Din Gloria, diba? Magkikita mo muna, vulnerability analysis natin, yung processes and formats and anything that is related to our sourcing. Ano doon ang dapat medyo kukunti na lang yung when we do it, ang vulnerability. And after na siya nakakuha na tayo, then we go to risk management. What is the risk? What is the risk? Ito lang for everybody. For everybody. Although, it cannot happen ngayon kasi we are on a distance virtual. Yung harassment, bullying, shaming, or sexual harassment, that can always be there. That can always be there. Tao tayo Diba? So, kung ikaw HR, yung sinasabi ni Cecil kanina, titingnan mo, sino ba yung vulnerable dyan? So kung may vulnerable ka, di wag mong isama siya sa inuman. O ang mahirap nga dyan yung lalaki o babae na kung nakainom, vulnerable, talagang nagtitiktok at naguhubad. O, both ways. O, that is vulnerability. Doon muna sa After nangyari, how will you handle that risk? Yun ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. Can I get your insights on this? Although we lack time, Cecil or PP Jerry, this will be again our topic sa kasi dapat malalim tayo. Yes, we have Femery. Ay, my dear Femery, you're here. Can we spot on my best friend? Ang lalim po niyan. Kasama yan ni Jerry, ni Cecil, ni Ophel, wala si Ophel, ni Dean Gloria. Yung mga I consider thought leaders. At the core of the most costly risks and failures is a weak culture. Oh, sagot yan doon. Pangatlo yan sagot Sabi ni Jerry, leadership. Sabi ni ni Maricor, well-being. Sabi ni Femery, culture. I-identify mo kung alin yung we have to identify in our culture. Femery, ang una muna is identifying what culture do you have. Mea culpa, do not take this against me. A lot of HR, if you ask them, Jerry, what is their culture, they cannot answer right away. At the core of the most costly risk and failure is a weak culture. It is an imperative for business leaders and HR to make this a priority at all times. Yes, my advice, my dear friend, Femery, right after this They call you, me, Jerry, Dean, Gloria, and then dapat may conversation. You know, when you talk about culture, dapat hindi lang ikaw. I got this from Dean, another Dean, Rose Francis. I am actually working with her on a project. Sinabi niya yan na you need somebody to discuss. Kaya may conversation. When you talk about culture, you have to seek and then try to una muna sabihin mo kung ano yon, identification of the culture. And then you have to seek other opinions if what you have identified on the culture is correct or not. Actually, nandun ka pa lang sa first phase of OD, which is diagnosis. Right after this, yung lahat na makikinig dito, yan ang aking sinasabi ni Femery, imperative. Imperative, kailangan. The imperative is right after this, diagnose. Talk with your boss, talk with us, and then see. Kailangan. Kasi what is in question now is the culture that one is, you're the day virtual. And what is the culture that is now being developed? Every moment, every minute, nadidevelop yung culture na yan. At malaman mo, ay, ang dali-dali po mag-mouth that we have this malasakit culture, we have this leadership culture. Define it. Very good si Ma'am Femery. You were able to reply on both questions. One is to identify, and then there is the risk. There is the risk. So yun muna, ano yung mga vulnerabilities doon sa OD mo? How you develop that culture. Ang mga areas siguro dyan nakikita ko, Ma'am Femery, is on the leadership again, and on how people take it. Is the culture going up or is it going down? Then, di ba, yung nagda-diagnose ka, it is norming. Then after that, nangyayari, how will you handle that risk? How will you handle that risk? Alam mo, it's already 12:54. In 3 minutes time, I will end this conversation. Alam mo, nakakatakot dun, Ma'am Femery, is yung culture na gaya bang yun, valued employees leave. That is now the risk. I know of some organization, umalis yung valued employee, ay sunura na. Yan ang nakakatakot. One of which is a student of mine. I told her, student ko sa succession planning, I told her to do something already. Hindi nakinig. Alam mo yung last conversation namin? Sunod-sunod. Ayun yung valued, hindi nga yung pinakamatalino. Hindi. Ang valued is somebody that you can trust, somebody that is actually reliable, dependable. Sunod-sunod. Despite the pandemic, that is actually the sampan. Yan sabi ni Femery, pasabog. Diba? Despite the pandemic, people leave. Anong kultura, anong dancer? So the culture is very vulnerable. So identify mo yon, and then kung nangyayari na, how you're going to take the risk. Usually, ang how to handle risk, yung mga naiiwan, i-increasean mo, i-promote mo. Ayun, hindi rin din maganda. Nako, papagalitan tayo ni Jerry Planan yan. Hindi rin yan maganda. So with this, I think we continue to discuss this sa sunod natin na engagement. I think it will be Tuesday again next week. Same question. We have to identify, but assign kaya ako with my friends. Femery, identify mo nga na what are the uncertainties and vulnerabilities in learning and development. Siguro si Cecil, can we identify Cecil doon sa succession plan? Siguro kay Dean Gloria, identify natin for the general management. Ano kaya ang mga ma-identify natin? Kasi Dean Gloria has been a president of our May for the longest time. And si Jerry will give his thoughts. Si June hindi nag-share. Let's do that. So ganun pa rin. The first part will be identification of vulnerabilities and uncertainties. Uncertainties muna, and then vulnerabilities. Then, second part, how we handle risk. Actually, I'll give it to you. Ang mga vulnerable are the processes that we do. Yung process. You have to make sure. Sabi nga ni Femery kanina, hanggang cybersecurity. Diba? So that we will make sure that what we do is a little bit, may proof. Full proof. Kasi hindi ka vulnerable on what is uncertain. Okay. So thank you very much, my friends, for joining me. I'm very sorry I have a webinar this afternoon, so we'll have to cut this. Nag-mention ako earlier, yun na nga yun. Yung we have to really see what are still really things that are uncertain. And why is it uncertain? And what will be the impact on us, on those on us, and that will be the vulnerabilities. And I read that yung vulnerability is two-way. On the slant, vulnerability on the, of course, sa process muna, but vulnerability sa iyo on how you're going to take it as the employer, as the leader, as the HR, at vulnerability doon sa isang tao. So, malalim po yung vulnerability analysis. Kasi sometimes, ikaw mismo, parang ang isang example doon nakita ko, you are a parent, and then you're just tolerating your children to do things. Sometimes yung vulnerability nila, ikaw yung nag-umpisa. Think about it. Mayroong sinabi rito si Femery. At the core, Femery will help me conclude. At the core of the most costly risk and failure is a weak culture. Ayun nga pala. It is imperative of business leaders. Okay. Yeah. So, yun po. This is a matter that we should discuss and a matter that we should share. Kasi this is actually sometimes being missed. We are so good in a lot of things. We have lots of programs, but we don't see if it will really be successful. Kasi we don't know if what we are actually offering, we are already creating vulnerabilities on people. Kasi ang pinakamahirap na malalim sa vulnerability, si nanay mo. Si nanay mo. Vulnerable ang tao niyan. Ito, matutuwa nito si Maricor at si Dean Gloria. Kung hindi ka marunong mag-English, insatiable. Kung marunong ka mag-English, insatiable. Patutuwa si Femery nito. Insatiable. Yung insatiability ng tao, depende doon sa nagtotolerate. Yan po ang pinakamalalim na vulnerability. Vulnerability. So, dapat may vulnerability analysis ka. Gaya pa sa akin. I am a borderline diabetic. Ang vulnerability, bili ng mangga, pinya, kahit na nga yan fruits. And what is the vulnerability sa akin? Ay, Diyos ko naman. Masiba si Nonoy, si Tete. Kain naman ang kain. So, malalim po yung vulnerability. Now, put that situation in organization. And then look at the talent management process. Aling doon wherein it will be vulnerable that what the services may not be appreciated, one, then the product, yung nakukuha mo, may be ineffective. Thank you, Jerry, for giving us the answer. May answer na kagad kanina. Are you going to develop leaders? Or are you just going to retain bad leaders? Thank you, Maricor, for sharing the well-being programs. Kasi that is actually the mananganak doon sa mental health. And thank you, Dean Gloria and Cecil, for telling us of that sensing of the process. And thank you, Femery, for telling us of the culture. So, ladies and gentlemen, wonderful discussion today. We are going still to discuss this next time. Kasi hindi pa ako mapalagay. Bigyan pa kita yun ng isang chismis. Ayaw na screening committee. Yan ang nakikita kong kulang. a lot of programs are being done. Dapat magtanong sila kay Jerry. We're trying to know the uncertainties and vulnerability, and when it is there, how to handle the risk. Ladies and gentlemen, Diyos mabalos po, ito si Jesse Francis Rebustillo.